Today's AskReddit post. What are the downsides of marijuana that people don't know? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. I'm an anesthesiologist. It increases the amount of anesthesia we need to give you and increases the risk of you being awake during anesthesia. Please tell your doctor how much you smoke. I woke up in the middle of my colonoscopy because of this LMAO. I had told my doctor beforehand, but I don't think they took me seriously in terms of how much I consumed on a constant basis. It's very spotty because I was under twilight anesthesia, but I recall looking over at the screen and asking the doctor if that was my stomach. He was like, "Oh, no my good man, that's your colon, that's cool as duck. Do you care if I just watch?" The doctor then exchanged a "what the duck is happening" look with the anesthesiologist, and I went back under. Edit. I had my colon and stomach mixed up. Edited for confusion. For me it was complacency. If I smoke I can sit in my room and play video games all day, no problem. If I don't smoke I feel the need to be productive and get things done before I indulge in my time wasting fun activities. Not a huge problem on its own, but when you smoke every day and become complacent with going nowhere for years, then it can be a big problem. Yep. It makes me perfectly content with doing nothing and can kill my productivity. I cheat. I make sure everything that needs doing is done beforehand, so I can just chill once I've treated myself, lol. Sometimes it sends me into an anxiety attack. I've been a daily toker for probably a decade and longer of just general smoking. Every once in a while I'll get a major panic/anxiety attack, especially if it's extra strong. The indica/sativa thing really did wonders for me regarding this. Regular use seems to duck with my ability to pay attention and remember poop when I'm sober. It's one of the reasons I quit. Not sure others have these issues though. My best friend definitely has this issue. He's been pretty much a daily smoker for more than 30 years. His memory is poop now. As an example, we were talking one day and I told him something. The very next day, he told me something that a friend told him. Yeah, no poop dumbus. I was the one that told you that yesterday. The subset of people that it induces psychosis in. Thank you. I'm one of these people. And no, you don't have to have mental issues while sober to have a full-blown psychotic episode on weed. It's shown to alter the brain in younger people. The minimum age should be in the early 20s based on studies. Your brain's not done cooking until about 25. Unpopular opinion, but any psychoactive drugs including alcohol should have a minimum age of 25 MO. There's a lot of talk about the dangers of drugs, but not enough specifically about the effects on developing brains. I've been saying this for years about alcohol and everyone basically looks at me like I have 7 heads. It will make you too comfortable. Like without weed, the boredom/irritation you feel from whatever your situation is can incentivize you to change. Or you can get high and be immediately comfortable, and before you know it years have passed. Saying that as someone who did exactly that for like 10 years. Now that I've quit, it's so much easier to find the will to change things. Removed. Thank you for writing this, so I didn't have to look it up, because this is exactly where my mind went. I've been smoking regularly for several years, and honestly the biggest downside is that it makes you extremely okay with being lazy and not getting anything done. I used to be one of those folks who always had to be doing something and was rarely idle. Now in my free time I only want to get comfortable while doing nothing and be completely unbothered. It really sucks, because I think as a society, that is something people overall need to do. And I don't mean doom scrolling social media or watching YouTube shorts. Actually doing nothing and chilling out for a few minutes by the creek or whatever feature your region has and just maximuming out. But like all things, it can go too far. It seems like it would help you sleep better, but I feel less rested in the morning. Booze and pot both wreck sleep. I have to go through sleepless nights in order to get back to sleep without pot. Plus dreams are ridiculously vivid and make me feel worse when I wake up from them. It feels like I just went through an emotional ordeal. Unless I have a ton of time to confront issues and stay sober, it's hard to not use the short-term solutions at hand. Memory loss. I've lost huge chunks of amazing memories from my younger years. Without photos I'd never remember. In my 30s and this has finally started to sink in. Meeting up with old college buddies or whoever and folks telling me stories that I was a key part of, that I have zero recollection of. Fucking sucks. People who say it isn't addictive need to meet my ex who once cried, literally bawled his eyes out, because I spent our last bit of money on food for our child instead of letting him buy weed. As a parent, that is sick. Yes, that's why he is an ex and my daughter, now 15, doesn't see him and hasn't done since she was 13 because she doesn't want to. Tolerance. Used to be so fun and jiggly. Now it's just a coughing fit that keeps you from punching your boss you in the face. In my experience, taking a month off will bring the magic back. For sure. Hell, just a week will do it for a little bit. Long-term use can have effects on the brain, especially if it is a developing brain. Teens struggle with emotions because puberty. Marijuana enhances that neural development at the expense of impeding abstract thought and mature reasoning progression. This can lead to adults with mildly stunted reasoning skills. But the most damaging is the unhealthy emotional development. Lighting anything on fire and inhaling the fumes is terrible for your lungs. Came here to mention this. Crackling lung, cough, lung cancer. For the life of me, it's nuts how folks defend it as non-toxic and healing when it comes to lung damage. Gotta eat it. Sabotages most people's diets when you're older, unless you're a freak who doesn't get an elevated appetite. Not even necessarily full-fledged munchy binge eating, but that 1 to 2 extra tacos after dinner will take its toll. At 20 I could eat 12 Kit Kat bars in bed high as a kite and not gain weight. At 40 I might not wake up. Not only the munches, but the lack of appetite I feel if I stop smoking for a while, or feeling like I can only eat after I've smoked, essentially forcing myself into a weird eating rhythm. Can make you content with an existence you wouldn't be content with sober. Guess whether you want to view this as a positive or a negative is up to everybody as individuals. Can make you content with an existence you wouldn't be content with sober. That's kinda the whole point for me, TBH. It can kickstart schizophrenia in those prone to it. This happened to one of my best friends. I was the one who, regrettably, got him into weed. And after a year or two of heavy usage, he went through a sudden schizophrenic break that resulted in him getting arrested twice and being admitted to various mental hospitals all in the span of 6 months. Watching someone who you considered your brother turn into a violent and delusional shell of himself all because of a harmless plant is not fun. And I wish more people would talk about the link between cannabis and psychosis/schizophrenia, because it is *very*real. This is why I never took the habit after I learnt about it. A kinda close relative has schizophrenia, so I'm *very* scared that I could get it. Same reason why I don't drink as much anymore. I was a regular smoker for 7 years until I started getting extreme panic attacks. Stopped smoking and they have subsided fully. Gum health. Dry mouth is awful for ya, so chew gum and stay hydrated. A crisp glass of water is so underrated. Absolutely. I smoked in my early 20s and now just do an edible from time to time. But it gives me cotton mouth like crazy. I get the largest cup I can find and fill it with ice water. Amazing. Marijuana use may interfere with the effectiveness of certain medications, leading to potential health risks or treatment complications. It suppresses your ability to dream. This is part of what I use it for. Bye bye. CPTSD nightmares. Haven't dreamed in a decade. Very happy for that. No more night terrors. Perhaps slightly off topic, but do regular weed smokers realize how badly it makes them smell? Or do you become nose blind to the odor? Nose blind. 100%. Oh yeah. i.e. gotten straight up aggression when I point out that we can absolutely smell it on your clothes and house. The withdrawal side of things when you quit. Sweats. Can't regulate my temperature. Insomnia is awful. 2 hours of sleep over 3 days, lack of appetite. Barely eating as you're coming down. Then it hits you that life is stressful still, and sometimes it's more fun to be high than it is to be bored. This is the right answer. Insomnia and freaky, vivid dreams when you do sleep. I like to smoke at the end of the day, so my routine was to have a smoke at 9 PM and watch a comedy podcast. Now I'm climbing the ducking walls with boredom. Gives me huge anxiety attacks and exacerbates my depression. Every time I smoke I get so in my head and depressed AF. It's absolutely horrible. My wife would try to convince me to try again for years. I would. And every single time I would just get so damn low and feel like absolute poop. For everyone else it seems to make them happy. For me it does the opposite and brings me so far down. I just can't stand it. Randy, well, Stan. The truth is marijuana probably isn't gonna make you kill people, and it most likely isn't gonna fund terrorism. But well, son, pot makes you feel fine with being bored, and it's when you're bored that you should be learning some new skill, or discovering some new science, or being creative. If you smoke pot you may grow up to find out that you aren't good at anything. I was never swayed by commercials with frying eggs or the one where the girl lets her kid sister drown in the pool, because those were just wildly unrealistic. But the one where the girl melts into the couch and never wants to join her friend who is out living life struck a chord. Not for flower but extracts, diamonds, distillate, infused weed etc. Do a number on my GI system. Can you elaborate on that? I have vibes plus pretty exclusively vape oil cartridges, mostly for convenience and less smell, and am really curious to hear what differences you've noticed. You lose discipline. You don't get poop done. You can't resist your temptations, like binge eating. I'm not sure if there are any others besides the ones I'm aware of, namely, memory, concentration, mental health, addiction, health problems, strong impact on young people, and additionally difficulty in everyday matters such as driving. CRNA here. Had to read up on the condition myself, but it's called cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. Had a 20-year-old patient whose vomiting/dry heaving was so forceful that he inadvertently ruptured his spleen and required urgent surgical intervention. He had previously ruptured part of his esophagus the same way. Turns out the central receptors that allow weed to act like an anti-nausea medication can get overwhelmed by the GI receptors for weed, which actually induce nausea. He was a daily user, though I'm not sure how much or for how long. I'm a nurse in a GI lab. I had to scroll way too far to see hyperemesis. We scope at least 3 to 4 PTS who have hyperemesis a day. I'll ask PTS any cannabis use? They say yes. Then I ask, have you tried using less cannabis to see what happens? And normally the response is along the lines of my symptoms got better or resolved. But it came back when I started smoking again. Don't wake up and smoke in the morning. Do not wake and bake. I'm pretty old and I've never been anti-pot. But every single person who I've known in my life who smoked early in the day has turned into a person with no ambition, who cannot accomplish simple goals. Pot is an end of the day. After you accomplish something. Scooby snack. This is the way TBH. Probably the biggest danger with weed for most people is that it makes you okay with doing nothing. So if you don't want to screw up your life, save it for the times when doing nothing is okay, and that's what you'd be doing, whether sober or not. Mood swings. Especially if you start at an early age. It can really end up making you feel quite depressed at times. Derealization/depersonalization. A few days of this is pure mental torture. This was enough to make me quit cold turkey for 6 months and counting now, and has completely altered my opinion on THC. In these sober 6 months, I have also noticed a uptick when it comes to motivation/drive. When I stopped, I started dreaming again. I was so sad to realize that I had missed out on decades of dreams. Smoking is horrible for your heart. Even edibles have a cardiovascular impact of abnormal heart rates, which could increase your risk for a CV event. It started ducking with my blood pressure, which led to further anxiety, and I had to quit. Don't miss it at all anymore. It had such a grip on me that I can only see as wholly unhealthy in retrospect. Financial impact can be significant. TBH, I've found it's cheaper than alcohol. When I was making my own edibles, there was a stretch where I calculated it and measured out to the point where I was only using like $1 a day of weed. That one edible though was doing the work of like 3 or 4 drinks. 40-year smoker. Been smoking longer than the average Redditor has been alive. 3 weeks off right now. No booze either. Well, the dreams it must suppress are notable. I cannot believe how vivid my dreams are. And man, do I get bored doing things I used to do high. I don't think I'm going back. That stuff ain't harmless. Listen to what I say and save yourself 40 years. Plus those friends you have. They only like you because you are someone to get high with. Trust me on this. I also have a friend who has smoked heavily for 40 years. Like 10 to 12 times a day. I can't hardly have a conversation with him anymore. Just constantly says what was I saying in the middle of sentences. I have to remind him a dozen times an evening. Hard to hang out with him anymore. He doesn't remember poop even the next day. I quit marijuana after smoking consistently for nearly a decade. I was a productive smoker with a consistent career. It never interfered with milestones like buying a home. I exercised, ate healthy, and have no medical issues. When I quit, I realized that it actually didn't do anything for me but waste money. I thought it helped me be more creative and relaxed, but I realized it didn't. Picking up a meditation practice for relaxation is much cheaper and more efficient. If you're creative with marijuana, you'll be creative without it. The withdrawals sucked. If you're on the fence about quitting, just do it. Apathy. I don't really care about that. It's definitely addictive. The people who I know that smoke tell me they legitimately cannot go a day without smoking. They also use marijuana to help with their anxiety or depression, but it just suppresses it until you sober up. I've known people who would get up every night to take a bong rip then go back to sleep. I'm always hungry. As a fat man, the munches are real and they can hit hard. If you're trying to lose weight, weed is not your friend. Mixing marijuana with other substances, such as alcohol or prescription medications, can increase T. Marijuana use can affect fertility in both men and women, potentially leading to reproductive health issues. Anxiety, bad memory, laziness, also money. Living next to the smell. It's addictive. I have heard so many people say it's not addictive. It is. Sure, it's not heroin / alcohol / tobacco addictive, but it is habit forming and addictive. Marijuana use can lead to impaired coordination and reaction time, increasing the risk of accidents and injuries, especially when driving or operating machinery. Long-term marijuana use has been associated with an increased risk of developing chronic bronchitis and other respiratory conditions. Jobs. It's illegal federally, so a lot of places still test for it, especially better paying ones in my area. Or if you get hurt on the job, even while sober, but it pops up in your test cause you smoked a joint last week. No workman's comp and probably fired. Fun fact, if you decide to visit DBA and you get sick/injured, they will do a blood test for drugs automatically. Having THC metabolite in your blood regardless of when/where you last used is considered drug possession and will land you in jail. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.